Good morning, everybody. It is very early because it's going to be very hot. So, starting early, and we are back on the buggy. We're going to keep going with this thing. We have ourselves a motor now. We also have ourselves some drive shafts. So I should have listened to the video that I created about measuring before you order drive shafts, because I listened to the first one and then I ordered drive shafts. Luckily for me though, they're both the same length. That one's longer now, and they actually fit because I test fitted them. So we'll get these in, get the motor in, then we'll get the shift servos and everything on. I've been pushing it off on just saying I'll get to it later, and then I get carried away just adding bars to add bars. I don't know where to put a battery in this thing, so that's going to be on the list today of what to do. So a few other things that I ordered as well that came in. We have a light bar, which will go right in here because I actually measured correctly and that fits. And then, just because I can, we have more lights. Gonna put them somewhere. So we'll get all this stuff mounted today, but number one goal will be find a place for the battery, get all this stuff mounted, wired up, test it, and then drive it and see how good this thing is, because I think it's going to be very good. So let's get started. First thing we're going to start with is putting all this transmission stuff together. It has a plate for the two servos, and it has the pieces that go onto the transmission to actually move everything. Now as for the mini servos, they are very cheap. I got a package of like 10 of them for $40. So if one doesn't work, then another one will. And I still have, I think, 6 more over there. I'm going to put all this together, and in just a second, all the servos will be mounted and ready to go onto this. Then we'll put the motor on. Here we are. We have the servos mounted on there. Have the motor mounted on there. Found a pinion gear. Got the drive shafts on. Make sure everything clears, and it does. The servo mounts are not entirely permanent because, once again, always disconnect every servo that you have when you first power these things up, because they're going to self-center. So once they're centered, then put them on. I just did this for convenience, and I wanted to see how it looked. So now let's put this in there and then look for a spot for a battery. Got the motor, transmission, everything in here, and I have not been able to find a good spot for the battery. So realistically, what we're going to be looking at is that. It is what it is. I should have built it in a way to plan for a battery, but I didn't. I'll figure out a way to mount it right there, so that way it keeps the weight kind of centered on it. I could make a plate and mount it underneath the back, but then it'll be really back heavy. So this is what we're going to go with. So now let's do the next important step, which is lights, because you need lights. But before we get to pointless lights on an RC that hasn't been tested or a good spot to mount the battery, I want to show you guys something. So you know how I built this one. It was just all pieced together. Just bought stuff offline. Did a crawler chassis, most awesome body ever. Got an oil cooler, which I found in my car. We're going to do a little Mad Max stuff with this. I want to do a roof rack, some turbos, because, well, why not? Got the oil cooler. We'll figure out an intercooler as well. But that's not the main thing. So this was all just pieced together buying aftermarket parts. Now, crawlers aren't the only ones that you can do that to. You can also do it to bashers. And for those who don't know, bashers are the fast ones. 4-wheel drive, like the Traxxas X-Max, the Creighton, all the really big ones that are really fast and can jump and do all the fun stuff. Well, I've wanted one for a while. So for the last 8 months, I've been piecing together my own X-Max. Just Traxxas X-Max frame, or sorry, chassis. Then I bought all the aftermarket parts, like shocks, control arms, knuckles. Now, X-Maxes are quite expensive stock, and they're very good. So, like, half these upgraded parts aren't necessary. I'm just me, and this is what I do. So, I've been buying this thing piece by piece. And funny enough, the cheapest stuff is the Traxxas stuff. So you can buy all the factory plastic control arms. You can buy all this stuff factory and just buy it piece by piece. The plastic stuff is the cheapest stuff. Once you start getting into the knuckles and the control arms and the shocks, yeah, that's gonna start getting pricey. The most expensive stuff is the motor. This motor is a Hobby Wing Easy Run 1250 kV. I've read a lot of good reviews about it. I have it mounted in here. I have an ESC. It's basically an upgraded motor from the stock motor. So once again, instead of buying the whole thing and then upgrading it, I've been buying this thing piece by piece and putting it together with upgrades. It's been a very slow, very long process, and as you can see, I'm only about halfway done. I have no body, I have no wheels and tires, but it's getting there. It's almost there. So with the whole piece together your own RC, you can do it even with the bashers. And yes, this thing will be shown on the channel once I get it all together. But like I said, this is my lunchtime project that I've been working on for a long time. I just get it one piece at a time. Then I need to find a body. Let me know if there's any different bodies. So put down in the comments, what other 5th scale bodies are there out there that I can put on this thing that aren't the X-Max body, which does look good. But once again, I don't want my stuff to look like everybody else's. So let me know what ideas you guys have. Send me links, send whatever. I want to see them. And obviously, based on the Mercedes, I'm not scared to go very different. So let me know. So now we have light bar, these lights, and I put these on each side as well to shine for the back. Yes, it may be pointless to put all these lights on before actually, driving it and seeing if it works. But main reason why I'm doing it is because I need to drill all the holes or weld. Like this one, I had to weld the brackets on, and the back ones had to weld those on. Had to do that before I can paint it. So now that we have all the fun stuff, this is pretty much how it's going to be accessorized, except for one piece that I'm still waiting on. Now let's wire this whole mess up and see if it works. It is very disorganized, but there it is. Not putting the door panels on yet. This is all just testing, and I've already tested it somewhat. We have our absolutely pointless lights. Even the back ones work. I gotta get a switch for them for the remote, but we have turning. So there we have our 2-speed. And then we also have the rear dig. Yep, messing up all my tools, but there's the rear dig. I have to adjust that real quick because it's not fully disengaging the rear dig, and it's just keeping it in neutral. So one more quick adjustment and then we'll get it out on the rocks real quick, see how it does. Okay, well, so far it is doing quite well. Few issues. Front tires rub on the control arms quite bad. Do get bound up a little bit, but besides that, these tires are actually really grippy. I've never been able to come up that line before. Transmission and gears are good, nice and slow crawling, very smooth. Let's take it up this rock just because we can. I would say this thing's performing quite well. Except for where it gets stuck right there. Yep, not a single one of my other crawlers would have been able to do that. So other than the tires rubbing and this thing being extremely long, it is a very capable vehicle. Something's wrong with the front end. Alright, well, she is tested, approved, minus this issue, but I'll figure that out. I also didn't grease or Loctite anything, so something could have just come undone. Once I get all that stuff off, we'll have to take everything back off of it, final weld everything, and paint it. But performance-wise, I already have 15mm spacers on all these wheels. Almost feels like it needs to be pushed out even more, because with how big I made it, just needs a wider stance, because front tires are rubbing on these lower control arms, and I already moved them in a bit. I guess I could try to move them in a bit more. I don't know, we'll see. But it is currently 103 degrees outside, so I'm going to go inside. And we're back. It is much cooler out. It is now only 100 degrees, but there's a breeze and some shade. So we're going to completely disassemble this thing after I just got it all working, final weld, and then get started on paint. So let's take it all apart. So we have it all disassembled. Key note when you're making custom stuff like this, when you take all the axles and all the suspension off, keep the hardware with it, because if you don't, you'll lose it. And the only reason why I say that is if you are anything like me, which from what I've read in the comments, love all you guys, a lot of you are like me. So the reason why I keep all the hardware with the axles and stuff is because some of us have messy workstations, like messy toolbox, messy workbench. But don't worry, because it's messy over here too. All I have is my one little clean area. I will clean all this up eventually and start fresh, but for now I'm in the middle of a project, so I'm gonna get to welding on this thing. Got it all welded up, took some Scotch-Brite to it. I'm going to clean it off so I can get started on painting. A couple of things to note. One, yes, I'm not wearing a hat. It's a bit too hot to worry about my receding hairline, so we'll just gloss over that and continue to move on, because it's still 98 degrees out, even in the shade and in the garage. And I was using a welder, so that was fun. The other thing, I don't know if a lot of you know, but the videos are about a week behind of actual time. So right now, today is July 5th. So I have been reading all your guys' comments, and just so you know, me and my wife do read all of the comments. If I'm able to get back to them, I do. If they're naughty comments, then I don't. But at the same time, I just leave them there because honestly, a lot of you stand up for me and I don't even have to do anything. So thank you for that. But reading all the comments, you guys have brought up some good points on the whole financial aspect of this. I'm not so much worried about the speed. I just am putting a lot of money into this stuff, so trying to figure out a way where I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of people by taking money. That's been the biggest thing that I've been trying to deal with, or not deal with, come to grips with. But I have done a little bit of research into, one person did mention an online tipping thing. So if you wanted to contribute, that would be one way to do it. And it's hard for me having a full-time job doing this stuff on the weekends to do any extra content or anything like that. But one thing me and my wife did talk about was doing like maybe once or twice a month on a weekend, can figure out how to make it work, because there are a lot of viewers from a lot of countries. We have almost every country on the list, honestly. I want to make sure that everyone can be included, but it has to be, on a weekend. I'm talking and trying to remember what I've wiped down and what I haven't. So yeah, we're thinking about possibly doing like a 1 hour live stream, just question and answer. You guys can ask questions, answer to the best of my abilities, and that'd be one way to get a little more engagement with you guys, make you feel a little bit more included. It's not so much a financial aspect as it is making you feel included in these builds, because if I am going to ask for tips, then it'd be good to make you guys feel included in the process, actually getting to talk in real time. So I'll have to figure all that out first on the basis of how the heck to do it. But let me know if you guys are interested in that. Doing a live stream, once a month, just a quick little gather. That way we can keep up to date instead of just leaving comments hoping that I'm able to get to them. We can talk about future plans of the channel, of what builds I have going on in my head, get ideas. That's fun too. Could also take a page out of Pole Barn Garage and go look on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist for used RC cars and see why they have them listed so high. That would be funny. But just let me know in the comments what you guys think, and we'll take the next steps from there. So let's go paint this thing, now that I just wiped it down and covered it with my sweaty hand. Welcome to the fanciest paint booth that is on YouTube. Keep going. Not gonna lie, I like that color a lot more than I thought I would. Once we get the black on there, it's gonna look really good. There, that is just drying away. There's the door panels. Still haven't gotten that one out because I ran out of little bungee cords. But while paint has been drying, I've been weird. Figured the Mercedes is weird, let's add an oil cooler to it. because it's JDM-ish. Not at all. Oh, I also broke off the Mercedes emblem because that was an accident. Happened in a rollover. This is just the start of what this thing's going to get. Looking at some turbos. We're looking at a roof rack. You guys tell me, what other fun and weird stuff should we do to this thing? Basically, the aesthetic that I'm going for with is Mad Max had a Mercedes, or rednecks with money. One of the two. Depends on which country you're from. Leave in the comments. Give me some ideas. I have a few, as you heard, but like spare tire. Should I make a bumper for it? Should I make an exo cage? I don't know about an exo cage. That's a lot of work. If you guys come up with some funny ideas, send me some links to Etsy or wherever you can find some fun, cheap stuff to add to this. And as I get them, it'll pop up in every so often episode of random stuff that we do to the Mercedes to make it just as weird as possible. So in the next video, hopefully we will have this all put together and running and driving after I fix the few issues like the dig and the steering. Once I get those all figured out, we're going to take this thing out and just have a blast with it. So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for all the support, all the ideas, and we will see you next time.